I found the journal on a Tuesday. My wife had lied to me for 10 years, 57 partners instead of 4. I confronted her. She cried, then filed false domestic violence charges. My name is Michael Anderson, and I'm 36 years old. I didn't collapse into grief or self-pity. Something colder took hold, a controlled fury that sharpened every thought, every move. She wanted to destroy me. She just declared war on the wrong man. I decided I wouldn't just defend myself. I'd expose every lie she'd built our marriage on, dismantle her credibility piece by piece, and make damn sure she faced consequences for weaponizing the system against an innocent man. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. I was looking for tax documents when I found it. Tuesday afternoon, mid-April, and our accountant needed last year's mortgage interest statements. Ellie kept all the financial paperwork in her home office, a converted bedroom with built-in shelves and a desk she'd inherited from her grandmother. I'd been searching through file cabinets for 20 minutes when I realized the documents might be mixed in with her personal storage. The leather-bound journal was tucked behind a row of romance novels on the third shelf. Dark brown, expensive-looking, the kind of thing you'd buy at one of those pretentious stationery stores. I almost put it back, Ellie's privacy and all that. But something made me open it. The first page had her handwriting, neat, precise, the way she wrote grocery lists. Personal history. Private. I flipped to the next page and my stomach dropped. 57 entries, 57 men, each one cataloged with a name, date, and a rating system that made me feel sick. Some entries were a single line. Others ran for paragraphs, describing encounters in detail I didn't need and didn't want. I sat down on her office floor and started reading. Entry 12 was from 2012 before we'd met. Fine. Entry 19, same. But entry 43 stopped me cold. Kevin Harrison, March 15, 2014. Met at Derek's party, 7:10. Decent but too quick. Won't repeat. March 2014. We were exclusive in March 2014. I'd told her I loved her in February. We were talking about moving in together. My hands were shaking when I found entry 47. Damian Wright, July 8, 2014. Hotel downtown, 8:10. Knows what he's doing. Might see him again. July 2014. I'd proposed in June. We'd already picked out the engagement ring together. She'd been helping me look at houses. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. I just kept reading, kept finding entries that overlapped with our relationship, kept realizing that the woman I'd married was someone I'd never actually known. She'd told me she'd been with 4 men before me. 4. She'd cried when she told me about number 3, some guy who'd treated her badly. She'd made me feel special, like I was different from everyone who'd come before. All of it was lies. Ellie came home around 7. I heard her car in the driveway, heard the garage door, heard her humming as she walked through the kitchen. I was waiting in the living room. The journal sat on the coffee table between the couch and her favorite chair. Michael? She appeared in the doorway, purse over her shoulder, smile fading when she saw my face. What's wrong? We need to talk. Her eyes dropped to the journal. The color drained from her face. Why do you have that? Looking for tax documents, I said. My voice came out flat, controlled. Found this instead. She dropped her purse. Michael, that's private. 57, Ellie. You had no right to read. You told me 4. I stood up slowly, watching her take a step back. You looked me in the eye and told me you'd only been with 4 men. You cried about it. You made me feel like I was special. You are special. Don't. I held up a hand. Don't lie to me anymore. I've spent the last 3 hours reading about Kevin Harrison in March 2014. About Damian Wright in July 2014. We were exclusive in March. We were engaged in July. Her mouth opened and closed. She looked like she was calculating, trying to figure out which lie would work best. Those entries. You're misunderstanding the dates. Am I? I grabbed the journal, flipped to the marked page. March 15, 2014. That was the weekend you said you were visiting your college roommate in San Diego. I remember because I helped you pack. Michael, July 8, 2014. That was 3 weeks after I proposed. You said you were at a work conference. I threw the journal back onto the table. So, let's try this again. Why did you lie? She was backing toward the kitchen now, hands up like I was the threat. I didn't lie. It's not like I owed you a complete sexual history. You told me 4. I followed her, watching her retreat. You specifically said 4. You gave me names, gave me stories. Was any of that real, or was it all just part of the act? It wasn't an act. I love you. You love me? The laugh that came out of me was harsh, ugly. You built our entire marriage on lies. You looked at me every single day for 10 years and maintained this fiction. What else have you lied about? Nothing? This is different. How is it different? I moved closer and she pressed against the kitchen counter. If you lied about this, something this fundamental, what else don't I know? Did you cheat after we got married? Is Tyler even mine? How dare you? Her fear flipped to rage in an instant. Tyler is your son. I made one mistake. One mistake? I was in her space now, voice cold and controlled. I count at least 5 men you slept with while we were supposedly exclusive. That's not a mistake, Ellie. That's who you are. Who I was! Past tense! She was shouting, tears streaming. I'm not that person anymore. You're exactly that person. You're standing here lying to me right now. I leaned closer. You know what the worst part is? It's not even the number. I don't care if you slept with 100 men. The worst part is you manipulated me. You played a role, the good girl, the reliable one, because you knew that's what I needed after my ex cheated. I didn't manipulate. Yes, you did. You trapped me. Got me to marry you, have a kid with you, build a life with you, all while hiding who you really were. I shook my head. That's not love. That's fraud. She grabbed my arm, desperate. Michael, please, we can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you need. I pulled away from her touch. I need honesty. For once in our marriage, just be honest. Why did you lie? Something shifted in her expression. The tears stopped. Her jaw set. Because men like you can't handle the truth. You want the innocent girl who'll worship you, but you also want her to be good in bed. You can't have both, Michael. So I gave you what you wanted. A fantasy. And you were happy. Why does it matter now? It matters because it was a lie. So what? She crossed her arms, defiant. You got a good wife, a good mother for your son, a good life. Would you really have married me if I told you the truth on our 3rd date? I don't know, I said honestly, but I deserved the chance to make that choice. And I deserved to be with someone who wouldn't judge me. Her voice rose again. You think you're so superior, but you're just another man who wants to control. Don't. My voice dropped to something dangerous. Don't you dare make this about sexual freedom. This is about lying. This is about fraud. You sold me a false version of yourself. I'm not a product, Michael. No, you're my wife. Or I thought you were. I turned toward the stairs. I'm sleeping in the guest room. Tomorrow we're talking about next steps. Next steps? Her voice went shrill. What does that mean? I looked back at her. It means I married someone who doesn't exist. It means I need to figure out if there's anything real left to salvage. You can't just give up on 8 years. You gave up on it the day you decided lying was acceptable. I headed upstairs, her voice following me. Michael, Michael! We're not done talking about this. But we were, at least for tonight. I lay in the guest room bed, staring at the ceiling. My phone started buzzing around 9 p.m. I'm sorry, please come to bed. We can work through this. I didn't respond. You're overreacting. This is crazy. Still nothing. Fine, be that way. But you're destroying our family over nothing. Around 2 a.m., I turned off my phone and closed my eyes. Tomorrow, everything would change. Wednesday morning, I woke up in the guest room with my neck stiff and my mind already racing. First thing I did was call the colleague who'd survived his own divorce a few years back. He gave me a name without hesitation. Nelson Parker. I reached Nelson's office by 9:30. His receptionist squeezed me in for a phone consultation before lunch. California's a no-fault state, Nelson explained, his voice matter-of-fact. Her sexual history, the lying, even infidelity during your dating period, none of that matters to the court. What matters is asset division, custody arrangements, and spousal support. She trapped me into this marriage, I said, gripping the phone. That has to count for something. Morally? Absolutely. Legally? Not really. He paused. Unless you can prove fraud that materially affected the marriage, hidden debt, criminal history, you're looking at standard dissolution. But here's what you can do. Document everything. Get that journal copied. If you're in California, you're in a one-party consent state for recordings. Build your case for primary custody. And Michael, don't give her ammunition. What does that mean? It means don't lose your temper. Don't put your hands on her. Don't do anything she can twist into abuse or harassment. Men get screwed when they give their wives something to work with. Those words stuck with me all day. When I got home Wednesday evening, Ellie was waiting. Different energy this time. Not defensive, but aggressive. I talked to a lawyer today, she announced before I'd even set down my briefcase. He said what you're doing is financial abuse. Threatening divorce to control me through fear of poverty. I stared at her. I'm being financially abusive? By wanting to leave a marriage built on lies? You're being emotionally abusive too. Calling me a liar, saying I trapped you, questioning Tyler's paternity. I'm picking up Tyler from school Friday, I cut her off. Taking him to my parents' house in Riverside for the weekend. The hell you are. She moved to block my path. You don't get to take my son, our son. And yes, I do. I met her eyes. Unless you're planning to physically stop me? Something dangerous flashed across her face. You're making a mistake, Michael. I brushed past her, headed upstairs. Behind me, I heard her voice drop low, urgent. She was on her phone. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone said enough. I packed a bag for the weekend, jaw tight. Friday afternoon, I picked Tyler up from school myself. He lit up when he saw me. Dad, what are you doing here? Thought we'd surprise Grandma and Grandpa this weekend. Sound good? Yeah. He threw his backpack in the car. Can we bring the PlayStation? We'll figure something out, buddy. He chattered the whole drive to Riverside about his week, about his friend's new puppy, about the science project due next month. Normal kid stuff. I let his voice wash over me, anchor me. My parents were waiting when we pulled up. Mom hugged us both without asking questions. Dad ruffled Tyler's hair and promised to show him something in the garage. After Tyler ran off with the dog, Dad pulled me aside. What's going on, son? I gave him the short version. His jaw tightened as he listened. Your mother and I never fully trusted that girl, he said quietly. Too slick, too perfect, like she was always performing. I'm sorry we didn't say something. Would I have listened? Probably not. You were in love. He gripped my shoulder. Whatever you need. Money for lawyers, a place to stay, someone to watch Tyler while you handle business. We're here. You don't do this alone. My throat tightened. Thanks, Dad. That night, I lay in my childhood bedroom, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars still stuck to the ceiling from when I was 12. Tyler was asleep in the next room, breathing steady and peaceful. For the first time since finding that journal, I felt clear, settled. I was ending this marriage. I was protecting my son, and I was making damn sure Ellie faced consequences for what she'd done. The path forward felt obvious now, solid. I closed my eyes and fell asleep. Saturday passed in a haze of normalcy that felt almost dreamlike. Tyler played fetch with my parents' golden retriever in the backyard, his laughter cutting through the February chill. Mom made pancakes for breakfast and Tyler's favorite spaghetti for dinner. Dad taught Tyler how to change the oil in his truck. For a few hours, I almost forgot what was waiting for me back home. Sunday morning shattered that illusion. I was pouring coffee in the kitchen when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw the patrol car parked at the curb. My stomach dropped. Dad answered the door. 2 officers stood on the porch, a woman in her 30s and a younger guy, maybe mid-20s. Both had their hands resting casually near their belts. We're looking for Michael Anderson, the female officer said. That's me. I set down the coffee mug and moved to the door. What's this about? Sir, we received a report from your wife regarding a domestic incident. We need to ask you some questions. The words hit me like a punch. What domestic incident? Your wife, Ellie Anderson, filed a report stating that on Friday evening, you became physically aggressive during an argument. She says you grabbed her, pushed her against a counter, and threatened her. That's completely false. My voice came out too loud. Tyler was upstairs. I didn't want him hearing this. I never touched her. Sir, she has bruises. We photographed them. I felt the blood drain from my face. I don't care what she has. I didn't put them there. She's lying. She's making this up because I told her I'm divorcing her. Sir, I need you to calm down. I am calm. I forced myself to breathe. Look, we had an argument Wednesday night. A verbal argument. I was angry, yes, but I never laid a hand on her. I left Friday afternoon with my son to come here. You can ask Mr. Anderson. The male officer cut in. Your wife is requesting a restraining order. She says she's afraid of you. Afraid of me? The absurdity nearly choked me. I'm the one who discovered she's been lying to me for 10 years. I'm the one trying to leave peacefully, and now she's… Michael. Dad's hand landed on my shoulder. Call your lawyer. Don't say anything else without representation. The officers exchanged a look. Mr. Anderson, we need you to come down to the station and give a statement, the female officer said. Am I under arrest? Not at this time, but we need your cooperation. I called Nelson from my parents' living room, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone twice. They're saying I hit her. They're saying she has bruises. Don't say another word to them. Nelson's voice was sharp, focused. I'll meet you at the station. 30 minutes. He made it in 45, expensive suit and leather briefcase, looking like exactly what I needed. A shark in attorney's clothing. Let me handle this, he said as we sat in the interview room. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The smell of burnt coffee hung in the air. The detective who questioned me was a woman who looked like she'd seen too much. Lines around her eyes, gray threading through dark hair pulled into a tight bun. Detective Clarice McKinley, she introduced herself, settling into the chair across from us. Mr. Anderson, I just need to hear your side of things. Nelson leaned forward before I could speak. My client was at his parents' residence in Riverside from Friday evening through this morning. He and his wife had a verbal argument earlier in the week. No physical contact whatsoever. Mr. Anderson exercised his legal right as a parent to take his son to visit the child's grandparents. And Friday evening? McKinley asked, looking at me. Where were you when your wife claims this incident occurred? Already at my parents' house, I said. We left around 3:30, 4 o'clock. Got there by 5. I haven't been back to the house since. McKinley made notes. Your wife states the incident happened Friday night. Then she's lying. The words came out flat, hard, which seems to be what she does best. Nelson shot me a warning look. McKinley studied me for a long moment. Mr. Anderson, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen real abuse that gets covered up, and I've seen false accusations that ruin lives. The system isn't perfect. So what am I supposed to do? I demanded. Just accept being called an abuser when I'm not? You stay away from your wife, you document everything, and you hope the truth comes out. She closed her notebook. But you should know, even if we don't file charges, she can still get a restraining order. All she needs is her statement and those photos. Based on lies? Based on evidence of injury. Something that might have been sympathy crossed her face. The courts err on the side of caution. Nelson and I left the station 2 hours later. The afternoon sun felt too bright, too normal for what had just happened. In the parking lot, he turned to me. This is worse than I thought. If she gets that restraining order, you could lose access to Tyler. At minimum, you'll be looking at supervised visitation. But I didn't do anything. Doesn't matter. Perception is reality in family court. He checked his phone. I'm filing for divorce first thing Monday morning. We're getting ahead of the custody issue. Do you still have that journal? Yeah, at the house. We need to copy it. Every page. That's your ammunition. Proof she's been lying from day one. He met my eyes. We're going to war, Michael. You understand that? I looked back at the police station, thinking about Ellie and her calculated lies, about Tyler asking why he couldn't come home with me. Yeah, I said. I understand. Monday morning, I stood in a courtroom listening to my wife lie under oath. Judge Fred Whitmore sat behind the bench, 60-something with gray hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked like someone's grandfather, someone reasonable. But he wasn't listening to reason. He was listening to Ellie. She sat at the petitioner's table with her attorney, Annie Roberts, a sharp-looking woman who specialized in domestic violence cases. Ellie wore minimal makeup, hair pulled back, dressed like she was going to church, playing the part perfectly. I'm afraid for my safety, Your Honor, Ellie said, voice trembling just right. Michael has changed since he found my journal. He became controlling, aggressive. I didn't know who he was anymore. I wanted to scream, wanted to stand up and call her a liar right there. Nelson's hand on my arm stopped me. And you fear for your son's safety as well? Judge Whitmore asked. Yes, Your Honor. Tyler shouldn't be around that kind of anger. Nelson stood. Your Honor, my client denies these allegations completely. He was at his parents' residence when this alleged incident occurred. We'll hear all the evidence at the full hearing, Mr. Parker, Judge Whitmore interrupted. For now, Given the photographs of injuries and Mrs. Anderson's sworn statement, I'm granting the temporary restraining order. Just like that. The order barred me from the house, from contacting Ellie, and worst of all, from unsupervised contact with Tyler. My chest felt like someone had driven a spike through it. We'll challenge it at the full hearing, Nelson said quietly as we left the courtroom. 3 weeks. That's when we can present real evidence. 3 weeks? My voice came out strangled. 3 weeks of what? Supervised visitation. I'm sorry, Michael. The standard for temporary orders is low. They err on the side of caution. 3 weeks became the longest 3 weeks of my life. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment near my work. Beige carpet, white walls, furniture that came with the place. The kind of sterile space men occupy when their lives have fallen apart. I hung one picture, Tyler at his last birthday party. That was it. Supervised visits happened at a county facility on Maple Street. Depressing room with toys meant for toddlers and a social worker named Diane Sanders, who sat in the corner taking notes on everything I said, everything I did. The second visit, Tyler asked the question I'd been dreading. Daddy, why can't I stay with you? He was sitting on the floor, building something with blocks that were too young for him. 7 years old and already processing a divorce he didn't understand. It's just temporary, buddy. Some grown-up stuff Daddy has to work out. Did you and Mom have a fight? I wanted to tell him the truth, that his mother was destroying our family with lies. Instead, Mom and I are having some problems. But that has nothing to do with you. I love you, and I'm gonna fix this. His face got serious, the way kids' faces do when they're trying to understand something too big for them. Is it like when Brady Wilson's parents got divorced? Brady Wilson, a kid from his class whose father had moved to Portland after the split. Maybe, I said carefully. I don't know yet. Brady says his dad moved far away and he only sees him in the summer. Tyler's voice got small. Are you going to move far away? No, that's not going to happen to us. I promise. But sitting there in that depressing room with Diane Sanders writing in her notebook, I wondered if it was a promise I could actually keep. Meanwhile, Ellie was winning the public narrative. She posted on social media about healing from trauma and protecting my peace. Photos of her looking contemplative, strong, survivor chic, and people ate it up. Jasmine Rodriguez, someone I'd known for 6 years, posted, "Proud of Ellie Anderson for getting out of a toxic situation. No woman should have to live in fear. Believe women." I stared at that post for 10 minutes, rage building in my chest. When I started typing a response, my phone rang. Nelson. Don't, he said without preamble. Whatever you're about to post, don't. She's lying about me publicly, and if you engage, you look guilty. Abusers always try to control the narrative, always claim they're the real victim. You respond, that's exactly what it looks like. His voice was firm. Stay silent. Let her hang herself. I deleted my half-written comment. 10 days into the nightmare, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Michael, it's Jeffrey Wild. I heard about what's happening. I need to talk to you. It's about Ellie. Jeffrey Wild, college friend. Been at our wedding but drifted away over the years. We met at a coffee shop in neutral territory the next afternoon. He looked uncomfortable the second he sat down. Guilty, even. I should have said something years ago, he started. But I didn't think it was my place. And honestly, you seemed happy. Said something about what? Jeffrey took a breath. About Ellie. Before you two got serious, we slept together a few times. She was very different then. Very aggressive, very sexual, very open about having multiple partners. I know about her past, I said. I found her journal. Then you know she lied to you. He leaned forward. But there's more. After you guys got engaged, she called me, drunk. Wanted to hook up one last time before becoming boring married Ellie. Everything stopped. When? 2 months before your wedding. I turned her down, but Michael, she tried. She really tried. He pulled out his phone. I saved the texts because they made me uncomfortable. She was really aggressive, and I was worried she might claim something happened if I just ghosted her. He showed me the messages, explicit, desperate, leaving zero doubt about what Ellie had wanted. I'll send these to you, Jeffrey said, and I'll testify if you need me to. I forwarded them to Nelson the second I got to my car. His response came within minutes. This is good. This shows pattern of deception and infidelity. We can use this to challenge her character at the RO hearing, also working another angle. Stand by. Nelson called Wednesday afternoon. Get to my office. Now. Daniel came through. I was there in 20 minutes. Daniel Clarkson sat in Nelson's conference room, a thick folder spread across the table. Former cop, maybe 50, with the kind of tired eyes that had seen too much bullshit. Mr. Anderson, he shook my hand. I've been doing this work for 15 years. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of false accusation I've ever documented. Nelson gestured to the folder. Show him. Daniel pulled out the first set of documents. Your neighbor, Patricia Summers, has a doorbell camera. Faces your driveway. She gave me access to the footage. He opened his laptop, pulled up a video file. There was Ellie, Friday evening, walking to her car. Timestamp, 7:43 p.m., hours after I'd left with Tyler. She looked fine. No limping, no visible injuries, nothing. She drives to LA Fitness, Daniel continued, clicking to another clip. Spends 2 hours there. Returns at 9:52 p.m. Same thing. Normal walk. No signs of trauma. So, the bruises came from somewhere else, Daniel finished. Gym equipment maybe, self-inflicted possibly, but they sure as hell didn't come from you grabbing her Friday evening because you weren't there. He pulled out printed screenshots next. Social media posts. Saturday afternoon, wine tasting in Temecula with 3 friends. He tapped the photos. Does this look like a terrified woman who just filed a police report that morning? Ellie, smiling, laughing. Glass of wine raised in a toast. The caption read, Much needed Girls' Day. Our self-care, rock living my best life. Posted at 2:47 p.m. Saturday. She'd filed the police report at 9:30 a.m. 5 hours later, she was at a wine tasting. Jesus Christ, I breathed. It gets better, Daniel said, and I caught the edge in his voice. I did background on her previous relationships. Found an ex-boyfriend, Thomas Green. Dated her 7 years ago. He slid across a police report. During their breakup, she accused him of domestic violence. Said he showed up at her apartment drunk and shoved her into a wall. Let me guess. He was in San Francisco for a work conference. Hotel receipts, flight records, 3 witnesses who had dinner with him that night. Charges were dropped within a week. Daniel leaned back. She's done this before, Mr. Anderson. This is her playbook. My hands were shaking. Not fear, rage. There's more, Nelson said quietly. Daniel pulled out hotel receipts, credit card statements, text message logs. Gabriel Hansen, met your wife at her book club 6 months ago. He laid out the evidence piece by piece. Hotel Indigo, 3 different occasions. Venmo payments from her account to his. Rent money, from what I can tell. Text messages that are explicit. He didn't show me those. I didn't need to see them. When? My voice came out hoarse. Most recent was 2 weeks ago, Tuesday night. You were working late, according to your calendar. She'd told me she had book club that night. She's been cheating on you throughout the marriage, Daniel said. And then she accused you of abuse when you tried to leave. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot below. Michael, Nelson's voice. We're going nuclear Thursday. I'm going to destroy her credibility so completely that Judge Whitmore won't have any choice but to dissolve that order. What do you need from me? Nothing. Just show up and let me work. He paused. You okay? Was I okay? My wife had fabricated domestic violence accusations. She had a history of doing exactly that, and she'd been screwing another man while playing victim. I'm fine, I said. End this. I didn't sleep Wednesday night. I lay in my apartment bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about every lie, every manipulation, every moment I'd trusted her when I shouldn't have. She'd tried to destroy me. Tomorrow, I was going to watch her world collapse. We arrived at the courthouse Thursday morning an hour early. Nelson in his expensive suit, briefcase full of ammunition. Ellie was already there. She sat on a bench outside the courtroom with her attorney, Annie Roberts, sharp-looking woman in a navy suit. Annie specialized in domestic violence cases, according to Nelson's research. Ellie saw us and immediately looked away. Wouldn't meet my eyes. Good. She should be afraid. Judge Whitmore called the hearing to order at 9:30 sharp. Matter of Anderson, temporary restraining order, he said, looking down at the file. 60-something, gray hair, sharp eyes that had seen too much bullshit over the years. Mrs. Anderson, you're the petitioner. Please take the stand. Ellie stood. She'd dressed carefully. Modest blouse, minimal makeup, hair pulled back. The wounded wife. She was good. I had to give her that. Annie Roberts walked her through the testimony. When did I become aggressive? After finding the journal. What specific behaviors? Cornering her in the kitchen, raising my voice, questioning Tyler's paternity. I was terrified, Ellie said, voice trembling. Michael had never been like that before. He was a different person, cold, threatening. Did he make physical contact with you? He grabbed my arm, pushed me against the counter. Her eyes welled up. I thought he was going to hit me. Lies. All of it. Annie presented the photos. Bruises on Ellie's upper arm, darkish purple against pale skin. They looked real enough. And you're concerned for your son's safety? Annie asked. Yes. Ellie wiped at her eyes. Tyler shouldn't be around Michael when he's like this. I don't know what he's capable of anymore. Several of her friends testified next. Brief statements about how I'd changed, how controlling I'd become, how worried they were for Ellie. I sat there, hands folded, watching the performance. Then it was Nelson's turn. He stood, buttoned his suit jacket, approached the stand. Mrs. Anderson, how long were you and my client together before you married? 10 years total. Married for 8. And during your dating period, you told him you'd only been with 4 men before him, correct? Ellie's face tightened. Yes. But according to this journal, Nelson held it up, you'd actually been with 57 men. Is that accurate? Your Honor. Annie was on her feet. Relevance? Goes to credibility, Your Honor, Nelson said smoothly. The petitioner claims my client changed after discovering information. We need to establish what that information was. Judge Whitmore studied Nelson for a moment. I'll allow it. Mrs. Anderson? Yes. But that was my private, and 5 of those 57 men were during the period you told my client you were exclusive with him, correct? Her jaw clenched. There may have been some overlap. Some overlap. Nelson's voice hardened. Do you remember texting Jeffrey Wild 2 months before your wedding? The courtroom went silent. I don't. Nelson produced his phone, read aloud. Come over. One last time before I become boring married Ellie, please? Sent at 11:47 p.m. on June 14, 2014, 2 months before you married my client. Ellie's face went white. That's out of context, is it? Because I have the full text chain if you'd like me to continue. Nelson turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to submit these as Exhibit A. So submitted, Judge Whitmore said. He was watching Ellie now with something that might have been discussed. Nelson pulled out the doorbell footage next, played it on a laptop for the court. This is your neighbor's camera, Mrs. Anderson. Friday evening, 7:43 p.m. That's you leaving the house, correct? Ellie on screen walking normally to her car. Yes, but no visible injuries. Normal gait. You then drove to LA Fitness and returned at 9:52 p.m. Still walking normally. Still no visible injuries. He paused the video on her return. My client left with his son at 4:30 p.m. that day. He was already at his parents' house in Riverside when you left for the gym. So when, exactly, did he grab you and push you against a counter? Ellie's mouth opened and closed. Annie Roberts tried to object, but Nelson kept going. And this, he pulled out printed photos, is your Instagram post from Saturday afternoon. Much needed Girls' Day, you wrote. Wine tasting in Temecula. You're smiling, laughing. Does this look like a woman who filed a police report for domestic violence that same morning? I was trying to cope by going wine tasting? Nelson's contempt was surgical. Let's talk about Thomas Green. Ring a bell? I don't. Ex-boyfriend. 7 years ago. You accused him of domestic violence too, didn't you? Said he shoved you into a wall. Ellie's face went red. That was different. He was in San Francisco. Hotel receipts proved it. Charges dropped, but you still filed the report. Nelson leaned closer. You have a pattern of false accusations, don't you, Mrs. Anderson? No, I was legitimately afraid. Of what? Losing control? Nelson pulled out the hotel receipts. Let's discuss Gabriel Hansen. Ellie froze. You've been having an affair with Mr. Hansen for 6 months. Hotel Indigo, multiple occasions. You've been paying his rent. You've been sleeping with him while accusing my client of abuse. Annie Roberts looked like she wanted to disappear. Mrs. Anderson, Judge Whitmore said quietly, were you having an affair during your marriage? Ellie's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Nelson turned to the judge. Your Honor, let me summarize. Mrs. Anderson lied to my client about her sexual history to manipulate him into marriage. She continued lying throughout their relationship. She cheated on him before their wedding and during their marriage. And when my client discovered her deception and tried to leave, she filed false domestic violence accusations to destroy him and take his son. He paused. This restraining order is a weapon, nothing more. Judge Whitmore's face had gone hard. Mrs. Anderson, I've been on this bench for 20 years. I've seen real abuse, and I've seen false accusations. Your credibility is in tatters. The temporary restraining order is dissolved, effective immediately. Your Honor, Annie started, I'm also considering referring this case to the district attorney for filing a false report. You're lucky I'm not holding you in contempt right now. He banged his gavel. Mr. Anderson, you're free to return to your home and resume normal custody. We're adjourned. I stood, legs shaking. Ellie was crying, real tears this time, tears of fury and humiliation. As we left the courtroom, she grabbed my arm. You'll regret this, she hissed. I looked at her, really looked at her, saw exactly who she was. No, I said quietly. You will. Ending scene. Michael drives directly to Tyler's school Thursday afternoon to pick up Tyler himself. No social worker, no supervision, and Tyler runs into Michael's arms as Michael holds Tyler tight, finally free. I drove straight to Tyler's school. No social worker waiting, no supervised facility, just me. The bell rang at 2:45. Kids poured out. Then I saw him. Daddy! Tyler ran across the parking lot. I caught him, held him tight. So tight I was afraid I'd hurt him. Hey, buddy, I managed. How'd you like to come home with me today? Really? No more visits with Miss Sanders? No more visits, just you and me. He grinned. Can we get pizza? We can get whatever you want. Tyler climbed into the car, chattering about his day, about his friend's birthday party, about the math test he'd aced. Normal kid stuff. I drove, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching over to ruffle his hair. Finally free. The police officer, a younger guy named Officer Marcus Brennan, followed me up the driveway Thursday evening. Just here to make sure there's no confrontation, he explained. Standard procedure. I unlocked the front door. The house was silent. Ellie? I called out, knowing she wouldn't answer. Nothing. I walked through the rooms slowly. Everything looked the same. Same furniture, same photos on the walls, same kitchen where we'd had that first terrible argument 2 weeks ago. But it felt different. Hollow. Officer Brennan waited downstairs while I packed. Tyler's room first. Clothes, toys, his PlayStation, his favorite stuffed dog he'd had since he was 3. Then my room. I grabbed enough for a week, maybe 2. I wasn't staying here, not in this house. Every corner held lies I hadn't known existed. Tyler appeared in the doorway. Are we taking everything, Dad? Just what we need for now, buddy. We're going to stay somewhere else for a while. Why can't we stay here? How do you explain contamination to a 7-year-old? How do you say the house feels wrong now? Because this house has some bad memories right now. I want us to have good ones instead. He processed that. Okay. Can I bring my basketball hoop? Absolutely. 40 minutes later, we'd filled the car. Officer Brennan helped carry the heavier bags. Good luck, man, he said as he left. I've seen situations like this before. You did the right thing fighting back. I watched him drive away, then looked at the house one more time. This had been my home for 6 years. The place where Tyler learned to walk, where we'd hosted birthday parties and Thanksgiving dinners, where I'd believed I had a real marriage. All of it built on lies. I locked the door and didn't look back. Over the next 2 weeks, I focused on Tyler. Regular schedule. School drop-off at 7:45, pick-up at 2:45, homework at the kitchen table, dinner together every night, sometimes just us, sometimes at my parents' house. Is Mom okay? Tyler asked one evening over spaghetti. She's fine. She's staying with your grandmother. When can I see her? Soon. We're working that out. He twirled pasta around his fork. Brady says when parents get divorced, everything changes. I put down my own fork. Some things will change, but you know what won't. How much I love you. How much your grandparents love you. That stays the same. Promise? Promise. Meanwhile, Nelson was tearing through the divorce like a shark through water. California's no fault, he told me during a meeting, but her affair and false accusations give us leverage. She knows she screwed up. We're using that. Discovery revealed things that made the journal seem almost quaint. Credit cards I'd never opened. $40,000 in debt. All in my name. She forged your signature, Nelson explained. That's fraud. Potentially criminal. Bank transfers to Gabriel Hansen. 3 months of rent payments. $1,500 a month. She was bankrolling her affair partner with your money, Nelson said flatly. Employment history that was fiction. Companies she'd claimed to work for had no record of her, references that didn't exist. "Who is she?" I asked Nelson at one point. "Because I'm realizing I never actually knew." "A con artist," he said. "Someone who's gotten by on looks and manipulation her whole life. You were just her longest mark." That hurt, but it was also true. 6 weeks after the hearing, Nelson called with news. She wants to settle. Her lawyer knows she has no leverage. What's she offering? 40-60 assets split in your favor, given the debt she racked up. She waives spousal support. Shared custody with primary physical custody to you. And the debt? All hers. We're requiring her to refinance those cards in her name and indemnify you against liability. It was better than I'd hoped. What's the catch? No catch. She's scared, Michael. She knows you could destroy her reputation. She knows she barely avoided contempt. She wants this over. I thought about it. About mercy versus justice. I want one more thing. What? A written confession. Everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every false accusation, notarized, and if she ever badmouths me to Tyler or anyone else, I release it publicly. Nelson was quiet. Then, that's brilliant. Ensures her silence without you doing anything questionable. Can you get it? I'll make it happen. 3 days later, I had it. 10 pages, signed, notarized, witnessed. A confession of fraud, infidelity, false accusations, identity theft, employment misrepresentation, my insurance policy. The divorce finalized 2 months later. I kept the house, decided to sell it eventually, but needed time. Ellie moved in with Gabriel. That lasted 6 weeks before he kicked her out. Tyler saw her every other weekend, supervised at first, then gradually unsupervised as he got older. He adjusted. Kids are resilient. I started dating again after 6 months. Cautiously. Very, very cautiously. Life returned to normal. Better than normal, actually. Then, 8 months post-divorce, my boss called me into his office. Richard Dalton closed the door behind me. "Michael, I don't know what's going on, but there are some posts circulating about you that are concerning." My stomach dropped. "What kind of posts?" "Accusations. About your marriage, your divorce." He pulled up something on his computer. "Someone sent this to HR." I looked at the screen. A blog. "Surviving Narcissistic Abuse. One Woman's Journey." Ellie. I read 3 paragraphs before my vision went red. "It's my ex-wife," I said. "She's lying. Again." Richard studied me. "Can you prove that?" I pulled out my phone, found the PDF of Ellie's confession, sent it to him. "Read that." He opened it. Started reading. His eyebrows rose higher with each paragraph. Ending scene. Michael's boss reads Ellie's signed confession with eyebrows raised, saying, "Holy shit," and confirming Michael is completely vindicated, then suggesting Michael has grounds for a defamation case. "Holy shit," Richard said. He kept reading. 5 pages. 6. Finally, he looked up. "You're completely vindicated. This woman is unhinged. Can I use this to stop her? I'm not a lawyer, but I'd say you have a damn good defamation case." I was already dialing Nelson. I called Nelson from my car in the parking garage. "She violated the agreement," I said without preamble. "What happened?" "She started a blog. Surviving Narcissistic Abuse, One Woman's Journey, detailing her abusive marriage to a man who gaslit her about her sexual past and used the court system to victimize her." "Does she name you?" "No, she's smart enough not to. But she includes enough details that anyone who knows us will recognize me immediately. The timeline, the restraining order, even mentions our son's age." Nelson was quiet for a beat. "That's breach of contract." "And defamation. She explicitly agreed not to write or speak publicly about you or the marriage. So what do? We can sue. Defamation and breach of contract. Given her signed confession and the settlement terms, this is a slam dunk." I gripped the steering wheel. "I want to give her one chance." "What?" "Send her a cease and desist. Remind her what she signed. She has 48 hours to delete the blog and post a public apology, or we release everything." "Everything?" "The confession, court transcripts, evidence from the restraining order hearing, all of it, public record." Nelson exhaled slowly. "Michael, if we do that, there's no going back. This goes nuclear." She had her chance to disappear quietly. She chose this. Let me draft the letter. Nelson's cease and desist was surgical. It quoted Ellie's own confession back to her, paragraph by paragraph, detailed exactly how she'd violated the settlement, promised swift legal destruction if she didn't comply within 48 hours. She didn't comply. Instead, she doubled down. A new blog post appeared the next morning. When your abuser uses the legal system to silence you. I read it sitting at my kitchen table, coffee going cold in my hand. She was claiming I was using threatening legal letters to silence her truth. That men like me weaponize the court system against vulnerable women, that she wouldn't be intimidated. My phone was already ringing. Nelson. You saw it? I saw it. What do you want to do? I didn't hesitate. Release everything. Michael. Everything, Nelson. The confession, the court transcripts, the evidence from the restraining order hearing. I want her lies exposed so completely that no one will ever believe her victim act again. There's no walking this back. Good. She wanted to go public? Let's give her what she wants. Nelson filed the defamation suit that afternoon, but more importantly, he filed it with every piece of evidence attached as public exhibits. Court documents are public record. Once filed, anyone could access them. The internet did the rest. 24 hours later, Ellie's signed confession was circulating on social media. Someone had downloaded it from the court filing system and posted it on Reddit, then Twitter, then Facebook. Within 48 hours, men's rights groups picked up the story. Woman files false domestic violence accusations, loses custody after written confession surfaces. Within 72 hours, it went viral. Ellie's blog was bombarded, hundreds of comments. People posting links to the court documents, screenshots of her confession, exposing every lie. She disabled comments first, then went private, then deleted the entire blog. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots existed, downloads existed. The story was everywhere. I received hundreds of messages, some supportive, some critical, most just curious. One stood out. I'm a journalist with the California Register. I'd like to do a story on your case. Not exploitative, but educational. False accusations harm real victims. Would you be willing to talk? Remy Taylor. I forwarded it to Nelson. Should I do this? Do you want your story told accurately? Because if you don't talk to her, someone else will tell their version. He was right. I met Remy at a coffee shop downtown. She was professional, mid-30s, notebook and recorder on the table. We talked for 3 hours. She interviewed Nelson, reviewed court documents, even tried to contact Ellie, who refused. The article ran 2 weeks later. The Man Who Proved His Innocence, a cautionary tale about false accusations and the family court system. Fair, factual, devastating. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages from men who'd faced similar situations. Some had lost their kids, some had been bankrupted. Some had given up entirely. And messages from women, real abuse victims, thanking me for fighting someone who'd weaponized their pain. 6 weeks later, the defamation case settled. Ellie agreed to pay $75,000 in damages and legal fees. She issued a public apology on her remaining social media accounts. I apologize for false statements I made in my blog regarding my ex-husband, Michael Anderson. The statements were inaccurate and defamatory. Mr. Anderson never abused me, and the accusations I made during our divorce were false. I take full responsibility for my actions and the harm I caused. It stayed up for 30 days, long enough for everyone who'd seen her lies to see the truth. She also surrendered primary custody, supervised visitation only until Tyler was old enough to choose, and she agreed never to write or speak about me again. Finally, Ellie Anderson disappeared from my life. 5 years after the divorce, an envelope arrived at my house with Nelson's firm logo in the corner. Inside was a handwritten letter from Ellie. I stood in my kitchen, the kitchen in the new house Leslie and I had bought together 2 years ago, and stared at my ex-wife's handwriting for a long moment before opening it. Michael, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this, and I need you to know it's genuine. I destroyed everything. My marriage to you, my relationship with Tyler, my reputation, my career prospects. I did that. Not you. Me. I've been in therapy for 3 years. I've been diagnosed with several personality disorders that apparently explain, if not excuse, my behavior. I'm medicated now. I'm working on myself. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking to see Tyler. I know that ship has sailed and probably should have. I'm just asking you to know that I understand what I did was wrong. Deeply, Fundamentally wrong. You were a good husband, a good father. You deserved better than what I gave you. Tyler deserves better than what I was capable of being as a mother. I hope you found happiness. I hope Tyler is thriving, and I hope someday you can think of me without anger. I'm sorry. Ellie? I read it 3 times. Leslie found me standing there, one hand on the counter, letter in the other. Her hand rested unconsciously on her belly, 7 months pregnant with our daughter. "What is it?" she asked. I showed her. She read carefully, then looked at me. "How do you feel?" "I don't know." I took the letter back. Part of me wants to believe she's genuine. Part of me thinks this is just another manipulation. Does it matter? What do you mean? I mean, whether she's sincere or not, whether she's actually changed or not, does it change anything for you? Leslie moved closer. You've moved on. You're happy. Tyler's happy. She's not in your life anymore. Does her apologizing or not apologizing affect any of that? She was right. It didn't. I think I'm going to choose to believe she's genuine, I said slowly. Not because I think she deserves my belief, but because I don't want to carry anger anymore. I spent so much time being angry at her, and it didn't make me feel better. It just made me tired. So, what are you going to do? Nothing. I put the letter in my desk drawer. I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm just going to file it away and keep living my life. That feels right, Leslie said. And it did. Tyler was 14 now, taller than me, played varsity basketball, made decent grades. He knew the full story about his mother, not because I'd told him, I'd kept my promise to be fair, but because he'd Googled it himself when he was 12. We'd had a long conversation about it. He cried, I cried, but we got through it together. He hadn't seen Ellie in person since he was 9. She sent cards on birthdays and Christmas, which he usually read and then filed away. He wasn't angry at her. He was just indifferent, which was probably sadder than anger would be. I'd heard through the grapevine that Ellie had remarried, someone in Arizona who apparently knew about her past and married her anyway. I hoped it worked out for her. I genuinely did. Leslie and I had been married for 2 years now. The pregnancy was going smoothly. Tyler was excited about being a big brother, though concerned about diaper duty. My career had flourished after the case. The publicity, while initially uncomfortable, had opened doors. I'd given one speech at a legal conference about family law reform, talked about the flaws in the system, about how easily protective mechanisms can be weaponized. The reception was mixed, but several attorneys told me afterward that my case had changed how they approached restraining order requests. Maybe some good came from all the pain. My parents adored Leslie, spoiled Tyler rotten, and were excitedly preparing to be grandparents again. Looking back, I could see how that confrontation in the kitchen 5 years ago was a fulcrum moment. The man I was, naive, trusting, willing to overlook red flags, died that night. The man I became, harder, more skeptical, unwilling to accept anything less than honesty, was born. I wasn't sure the new version was better, exactly. He was more guarded, but he was also more resilient, more confident, more free. Saturday afternoon, I stood in our backyard watching Tyler and his friends play basketball. Leslie was inside on the phone with her sister, one hand resting on her belly. The sun was setting, painting everything orange. Tyler made a three-pointer. His friends erupted. He looked over at me, grinning, and I gave him a thumbs up. My phone buzzed. Text from Nelson. "Remember that DA I referred you to? They're finally filing charges against Ellie for filing a false police report. Statute of limitations was about to run out. Thought you'd want to know." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back, "Thanks for letting me know. I won't be pressing for restitution or anything. Let justice take its course, because that's the thing about revenge and justice. Sometimes they're the same thing. Sometimes karma just needs a little help getting started." I pocketed my phone and headed inside to help Leslie with dinner. Tyler and his friends would be hungry soon. There was a basketball game on tonight we wanted to watch together. I had better things to do than think about Ellie Anderson. I had a life to live, and it was a pretty good one. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.